guys, so now as hopefully you can see, I've got most of the detail on the flowers blocked in. I've got some blending done um, on the vase here. I've got these flowers mostly painted. Right now what I'm going to work on is the vase. As you can see from the original, it's not like it's real brushstrokey and not a lot of intricate detail, but it kind of looks like it is because of multiple layers. And so now I'm going to talk about how to get this a little smoother and also get the feel of that glazed ceramic by something called glazing. And let's see, a few things here. I'm going to use some glazing fluid, which is this right here, and probably also some acrylic retarder, which is this right here. And that will dilute the paint because I want to keep sort of my detail that I have on here, but just make it darker or lighter. And I'm just going to add really thin layers of stuff, and also I'm going to use a lot of water as well. So I'm going to start, let's put some white on here. So I am looking at my original and I feel like that it's pretty bright, but it has some of that sort of purpley pink color in it. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of that first. So I'm going to lighten this side of the vase here. And so white is very opaque, so I'm going to use a lot of the glazing fluid, and I'm still going to put a bunch of water in it. And it's still going to cover up a lot of my painted on details here. That's okay, because the more times I do that, the more it will look good. So let's try this. Just get a little tiny bit of my white color and it's still kind of covering up the details even though it's very thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash the paint out of this, and I'm just going to use the brush to spread around what is already on there, just in places where the white is. And actually I'm going to add a tiny bit more of this pink to my color that I'm using here and glaze it in down here. And this is all still really watered down, so it'll stay wet for a while. Actually, I'm going to try taking a totally dry brush here and then just smoothing that out a bit. So obviously I want to go back again and pull out some of these blue details in here. I'll get my dark blue mixed up here, which is ultramarine blue mixed with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red to darken it up and also tone it down a bit. And right now I'm just going to put in, probably my glazing is dried up by now, so I probably will have to do that again, but that's okay because I expected to do that anyway. Before I do that, I'm just going to freshen my glaze here a little bit. Just a really thin wash of this pinkish white here. And that is so that I can blend this blue into my white glaze. And there's all different colors of blue in here, and I'm going to try to change it up. You almost don't have to make it exact, you just have to kind of make sure that you get some blue greens in there and some more purpley blues. Try just adding a touch of red into that blue and see what happens, just to get it a little bit of variety. Trying to sort of match the shapes that are in the original. Maybe I'll come in with a different brush. The point being that the more different layers I put on here, the more you'll create the illusion of the translucency of that glazing on that vase there. I'm going to take all these and do them somewhat darker than what I'm seeing, so that I can put another layer of the light colored glaze on top of it, and it'll come through. And now what I'm going to do is I've taken this blue, this dark blue, and gotten a little bit on the brush and then mostly wiped it off, and I'm just going to kind of dry brush a layer of this blue on the blue areas just to darken it up a bit. And really everything that you do, every layer that you add on top of this adds more interest and more sort of realism to the surface. So now let's go back with my white colored wash that's hopefully very thin, and I'm going to go in again and do that. And you can dry out your brush to kind of get rid of the little bubbles and little brush strokey things. I'm being a little bit more targeted with it this time. And now I'm going to get a little bit more of a detail sort of brush and put it in my different colors of blue and really get in there and put the dark colors in. I can see in this area right here, it's kind of, I'm not sure what they're trying to depict on this vase, but it's a little bit squared off, so I'm kind of doing square brush strokes, and then over here where it's more sort of floral and curvy, and on the bottom as well. And don't be afraid to sort of scumble things a little bit just to get the edges that you want. And I'm not going to do too much over there on the right because I'm going to do another glaze on this side. So that looks decent. Now really like almost the brightest part of the image is this reflection of the light, this highlight right in the middle. So I'm going to get a more pure sort of color. Maybe I'll get a little retarder in there and try to get this reflection in here. I'll probably have to do several layers of this in order to get the shape and the brightness that I want. While that's still wet, I'm going to soften this edge just a little bit, and also get a little bit of this blue back in here at the top. And that white highlight, I'm going to have to go back over that a little bit later, but what I'm going to do first, I'm also now going to do some glazing on the dark side of this. What I notice is that it's more blue down the middle, and then it kind of has a red reflected light on the outside. So I've kind of already done the blue part. So I'm going to mix myself some of a darker reddish color to darken my dark side. So this is kind of a brownish red. I put blue and yellow in it to tone it down a bit, and mixed with some of my glazing medium and some water. And so I'm going to use that on the right side here to darken it up, and also to get some of this reflected color that you have down here on the lower right. And so that actually appears to have worked kind of well. I'm going to put just a little bit more up here, and as you can see, that goes on translucently, even more so than the lighter color, because as I said before, that white is really opaque. It's the most opaque color. So now what I'm going to do is just looking. I don't really have a good blend here, so I'm going to try to lighten up these white areas of the vase a little bit. I'm going to go back to my lighter blending color, or glazing color, and I'm just going to try it, sort of dry brush it on there. And what that means is I got just a little bit of paint on the brush and then wiped off the excess, and I'm just pulling it a little bit over into this darker area. And one problem with acrylics is that the thinner it is, the faster it'll dry, so that means it'll dry on the edges and you'll have this weird halo around stuff. It happened up here, but I'm going to fix that in a minute. So make sure that you get the effect that you're looking for while it's still wet. I'm going to get some water, and I have a lot of water and just a tiny bit of my green that I'm seeing in a few places. So I'm putting in a really super thin amount of this green just to add a little variety to the color in a few places. Okay. And let's go back to our highlight now. I'm actually not super happy. It comes down more at an angle in the original. So what I'm going to do is get some of my white color and make the center of that highlight go a little bit more at an angle. And the top part of this actually comes down a little bit lower. And I'm going to try to soften the edges up a little bit. I'm going to clean off my brush and try to get this feel of the edges dying out at the top and bottom. And the middle should be very bright. Okay. And what I'm seeing right now is that the highlight is a little bit cooler than the stuff around it. So I'm just going to, while it's still a little bit wet, just take it down just a little bit. And also spread that light color to the stuff around it. Try to get rid of these little weird borders that dried too fast. Another good thing to do is step back and look from a distance. And I'm going to go back and scumble in with some of this brighter white color, or really kind of a bluer bright white color. And with a dry brush, I'm going to just lighten some of the lighter areas in the pattern. And that again just adds another layer of complexity and translucence to your base here. And again, just to bring out the highlight a little bit, I'm going to go over the middle parts of this just one more time, the brightest parts of that. Highlight there. And there we go. I have made the vase, you know, a lot more complex than just the flat vase that I had a little bit. I'm gonna do is one of the best things, you know, about having the phone cameras is that you can take a picture, and I find that if I take a picture and can look at it on my phone with just one eyeball, it helps me to find mistakes that I don't necessarily notice in the full real thing. But that's just a little bit about you know, scumbling and dry brushing and glazing. We're going to have to do a lot more of that sort of thing with this background and this bottom part, so I will talk about that next time, and probably I'm going to make my vase a little bit thinner, or at least try to before next time as well. So that's all for today. Stay safe, wash your hands and all the regular stuff, and I'll see you next time.